Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL Podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast helping you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome back to our show our co-host from Michigan and Pack Your Pixie Dust. How you doing tonight, Christy?
I'm well. I'm still cold.
You're still cold. Well, let's turn our sights a little bit further south. What if I said Tiana's Place and French Quarter Lounge? What would we be talking about?
Well, we would be talking about New Orleans.
New Orleans. The beautiful Disney Wonder is sailing out of New Orleans for the first time ever. Their first cruise is coming up here February 7th. I can't believe that.
Oh my gosh, that's so quick.
And I was looking it up. I was trying to find the dates for the first sailing, and I could not find February 7th. So to me, that says it must be sold out.
Ooh.
So I'm glad to see that they are not only sailing this year, but they've added dates for next year in 2021 as well. So that means their bookings must have been pretty good to continue on out of New Orleans. What a great city. And today we are going to explore it, get a little bit of a background, get you guys a primer for those of you who may be sailing here soon. I know we've got a couple of listeners that are heading down in the next couple of weeks. And you are sailing what, next year out of there, right?
I am.
Which one?
I need to get back. It was all because of one of these conversations that we were having. I was like, I need to get back to Tiana's Place. I just can't. I can't stay away.
Okay, well, we thought we'd bring back to the show. They sailed on the beautiful Disney Fantasy to the Western Caribbean, and I'd like to welcome to the show tonight, Christy. How are you doing today, Christy? Do you live in New Orleans or outside of New Orleans?
I live outside New Orleans. I'm originally from that sort of area, but I live a couple hours away now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for offering to come back on and help our listeners.
Sure.
Yeah, those who are going to be sailing here soon this year out of New Orleans to kind of give your advice and some opinions on just a beautiful and magical city down there officially on the bayou?
What is the bayou?
Yeah, the bayou's kind of weird. You probably won't see like swamps and stuff if you're staying close by the port. So just, we don't have like alligators everywhere. They do. You can find them if you go a little further out, but no, you'll be in a metro area. So okay. You probably won't be seeing a lot of swamps.
So you guys as a family go down there and spend some time every now and then in New Orleans. Have you ever been down to the cruise port itself by any chance?
So sort of. The cruise port is actually really close to the aquarium. So they have the aquarium, and then right next to there is a big shopping center, kind of a mall called the Riverwalk. And so that is right where the cruise port is. So when you're inside the Riverwalk, you can see the cruise ships right outside the window. So I've been kind of there, but not actually the physical port area.
I cruised out of New Orleans, but much like the restaurant I'm going to talk about later, it was 100 years ago. So 2005-ish, I cruised out of the port.
Okay, well, we won't get too deep into this, but I did a little research on the port in New Orleans. So it looks like it's right down by the convention center, too. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That area.
It's like right downtown.
Correct.
Downtown-ish.
So, thinking about New York, would you even know this, Chrissy, as far as staying at some of the hotels? Could you walk over to the port, like in New York City?
Oh, I'm sure there's some. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like you could.
I know.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah.
Some people could. Yes.
Okay. If your family's up for walking and you don't have like 80 pieces of luggage each, I guess you could maybe walk over there. Okay.
Didn't you walk to the airport from San Diego and it's like 15 minutes walk?
Yes. It's like about a 30-minute walk.
Okay.
Yeah, we did after.
Yeah.
But
so
that was a
good walk.
Yeah,
most normal people would take some sort of transportation.
Okay, I kind of digress there. This is coming off the rails really quickly here. I was just getting curious about that. But anyways, for the most part, the port is right downtown where it leaves out of. It's 30 minutes from the airport, about 15 miles, they say. And I did a little research. So if you happen to be driving down there for whatever reason, they do have parking there at the port. They say there's no advanced reservations for vehicles, but they guarantee parking for everybody and some prices for this year at least. And this is 2020. For 4 days, you're looking at $90 for the 4 days, 5 days, $110, and $140 for 7 days. So the Wonder kind of offers 4, 5, 6, and 7 night cruises, mostly to the Western Caribbean and going all the way out to Castaway Cay as well, and a couple up to Nassau in the Bahamas. So that's kind of the itineraries that they're sailing out of there. Before she starts sailing here, I thought it'd be awesome, like I already said, Christy, to bring you on and kind of give an overview of the city. So as we kind of jump into it, what are your thoughts in New Orleans just as a city itself?
We love New Orleans. I mean, there's so much culture, there's so much to do, and there's stuff for families, there's stuff for adults that get a weekend away. It's always going to have a special place in my heart, even though we definitely don't get there as much as I would like. But I mean, growing up close to there, we were always going to concerts and different events and all kinds of stuff like that. So it is definitely a place I love. And I think it's really awesome that people will get to experience it with Disney. So I think that's really cool way to get people to come visit.
And I'm going to put you on the spot just to start with before we get into maybe some more specific things. But what's something about New Orleans that you would want people to know that maybe people don't know? Because in most cities, everybody has kind of like this is what New York is, or this is what LA is. What is something about New York that might surprise people? I mean, what is something about New Orleans that might surprise people?
I think it really would surprise people to know how family friendly it is. I think people think of it as a big party city. It's where you go for like getting drunk at Mardi Gras kind of thing. And it really is not just that. I mean, there is a lot that you can do if you take a trip or if you're planning a couple of days before or after a cruise. There is a lot that families can enjoy. We try to bring our kids down to do stuff as much as we can. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, but, we definitely try to get there as often as we can with the kids, having fun. But it's also a great place for adults, even if you're not like going there just to party. There's theaters, there is fine dining, live music. So there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. And I think people probably think of it more just as a party atmosphere. So I think that may surprise some people when they start planning their visits.
And why don't we start with maybe some places to stay?
It does depend on where people want to be, but there are a lot of hotels. There's like a business district. So there's a lot of hotels in the business district, which is walking distance to the French Quarter. There are smaller hotels in the French Quarter, and then there are the hotels that are like the Marriotts, the things that people know, the Hiltons that I would say are on the outskirts of the French Quarter, and it's all walking distance. You can walk to all of these places. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk, but it's all very walkable.
And Christy, kind of looking at your research as far as New Orleans, where are some of the places that you guys stay as a family, and do you have any advice for people as far as families as to different areas where they may want to stay?
We don't stay in hotels a lot because we have family there. So we're usually visiting family, but we've stayed at the Drury Inn before. Is really nice. And the rooms are really spacious. So I feel like that would be good for families. My husband and I have stayed there, just the two of us, but the rooms are really, really roomy. So if you had your kids with you, that would be a nice place to stay. We've stayed at, I'm trying to think where we've stayed recently. I know in the past few years, we've stayed at the Queen and Crescent, and that's more of a boutique hotel. So it's really small and it's a little bit older. So that would maybe be better for like a couple. I want to say we've stayed at a Hilton. That's been a long time. So we're not big hotel people. The Royal Sonesta is nice. There's just so many places to stay. I mean, in any budget, any size, there's just so much to choose from.
I was just there in May for a wedding, and we sort of the end of maybe of the quote unquote business district, but we were in between, walking between the Westin and the JW Marriott, and all of that felt very safe. And we went out, my husband and I went out to breakfast, so we stayed at the JW Marriott, and we walked a couple blocks. Oh, it was a Hilton, because that's where we ate breakfast. And there was families everywhere walking around. It was very safe feeling in the morning. And there were families everywhere when we were walking. And that was on a Saturday morning. So
definitely daytime, I feel like, for sure. I mean, there's people all over, there's families. Yeah, it's very, very busy during the days. I mean, it's not like you are going to find yourself down too many dark alleyways. I don't think, especially during the day, there's a lot of life going on.
The one thing I will say is that most of the hotels I was mentioning, you would take a transportation to get to the cruise port. Like, you wouldn't likely walk that.
Right. I think there's just so much to do in the city, and there's so many choices of places to stay, and none of it is really far from the port. So even if you weren't maybe walking distance, to get there really wouldn't be a hike. So you can be in lots of different areas, and depending on maybe what you want to plan for, if you're going to be there for a couple of days before, getting an Uber or a taxi to the port is not going to be difficult.
New Orleans has a tourist board, and they actually you can just literally Googled that. They have an itinerary and even things to do for families specific in their tourist board website. So if you're traveling there as a family, as opposed to just as a couple or as adult friends or type of thing, you can go even to their tourist board and see what they recommend for families as well.
Oh, wow. Cool. I didn't realize that.
Well, New Orleans sounds a lot like San Diego, where the Wonder sails out of, and also Vancouver, kind of that metropolitan area where there's a lot of different hotels, easy to walk around, a lot of things to do, and then easy to get to on your port day as well. It's not like having to drive all the way out to, spending time in Orlando and then having to drive all the way out to Port Canaveral. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's all very close. So, I mean, I don't think if you are in the city, you can't be too far from the port. I mean, it just may be, getting some kind of transportation, but that's still not going to be a whole lot. It's not going to be a long hike.
Let's turn to food then. And when Christy's not eating her warm chocolate melting cake on Carnival.
Carnival does cruise out of New Orleans, by the way.
They do. I saw that, and it made me think about that. But let's turn from warm chocolate melting cake to beignets. Do you have any advice for people that you'd love to go down to Walt Disney World? They stay at French Quarter, and they're headed to New Orleans to sail on the Wonder. Is there a place where they should go get beignets?
Café du Monde is the number one obvious choice, best place, hands down, to get beignets. And if you go, you will likely see a long line because everyone wants to get their beignets there, but it does move quickly. It is kind of chaotic, but it's really fun to just kind of people watch in there. I don't drink coffee, but I hear they have really good coffee as well. The biggest thing to remember when you're eating beignets is don't take a breath in when you are about to bite it, because you will get powdered sugar up the nose and it's not fun. So just be sure to be careful of that.
I have to say, I did some extensive research. It does not look like, at least as of last May, that there was a gluten-free beignet option for those that need that. I know.
Oh, that's sad.
One day, though. One day.
Maybe one day, yes. It's probably not for someone who is maybe an obsessive cleaner, because there's powdered sugar everywhere. There's people like moving in and out of tables all over the place, but it's really fun. It's definitely a must-do New Orleans experience.
Perfect. Well, besides, getting beignets and desserts, we started with desserts. So let's go to the main course. Any other restaurants that you have to recommend?
That's breakfast. You can have beignets for breakfast.
I was about to say, you can eat beignets any time of the day. Beignets, and they're the best in the middle of the night when you've just left a concert, and it is like your fourth meal, when you go grab some beignets. It's the best.
The fourth meal. I like that.
Your fourth meal, yeah.
Well, let's turn to maybe some regular dining. Any advice do you have for families or couples down there in New Orleans for some different restaurants now?
I looked up a couple of different places. There is there's a place called Drago's that's really well known for their oysters. So if it's people want to try the oysters, I'm not an oyster eater, but I hear that that's the place to go if you want to try that. A couple other places I had looked up was they have Brennan's is pretty well known down there. It's kind of long established. I think they have like steaks and seafood and stuff like that. And then for more casual places, there is it's a local chain, I guess, New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. So that's more like fast casual, fried seafood, stuff like that. And I mean, kind of anywhere you go, you can walk around and find some really great places. There's restaurants all over the place serving, all the New Orleans foods you think of, gumbo and etouffee and muffaladas and, just anything you could think of.
How about street vendors? Do they have? It's been a long time since I've been there. Do they have street vendors as far as like having stuff like that, like muffalata and jambalaya and whatnot?
I don't think that's a big thing. Okay. No, at least not that I've gotten. But it's a lot of places that have like their menus posted outside. So you can just kind of walk around and look and see what they have, what their pricing is to get an idea of where you would want to eat. So it's not, you can just kind of go on the fly and, just walk around. And when you get hungry, find somewhere to eat. There's no shortage of places to eat. That's for sure.
And food we were talking about this before we started. It can be so subjective. One person,
very subjective.
Something that somebody loves, somebody else doesn't. But yeah. Christy, you were there 80 years ago and you had a place that you wanted to talk about.
I am not old enough to have been there 80 years ago. However, I was there approximately 20 years ago. And one of the most memorable meals I have ever had in my entire life was at, which is the reason I can remember it from 20 years ago, was at the Commander's Palace. Kristy told me that it's still a really good restaurant.
Yes, right? It is. I mean, when I was kind of putting feelers out on Facebook, like, I mean, everybody listed that place and then a couple of other places. So it's definitely still a very well-known, very popular place to eat in New Orleans for sure.
Yeah, so it's called Commander's Palace, and it is a little bit outside of either like the convention center area or the downtown. I remember specifically that we had to take a cab to get there. Now, obviously, there's Uber or Lyft. Even when I was looking to see if I could go when I did a short trip in May, we would have had to take a cab to get there. So it is a little bit out of the way. But I'm telling you, this brunch that I had was so memorable. I was a poor law student, and my traveling companion, we like saved all our money and we split this meal, and it was $115 20 years ago to eat brunch. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I can still remember the courses they served. It's been 20 years. I don't remember what I ate for dinner yesterday, and I remember this meal.
Well, we have kind of talked about getting there. We've talked about a place to stay. You know, one of the things that I'm really curious about is Mardi Gras. That's, a big part of New Orleans culture and the whole story down there. Could you talk a little bit about Mardi Gras, maybe the history and when that takes place?
Yeah, so Mardi Gras it has to do with Easter. So it always falls differently because it'll be right before Lent starts. It'll be the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. This year, when the actual day will be, I think it's February 25th. I will be in Disney World. So when I was looking at kind of comparing the sailings leaving out of there to when some of the parades start, it looks like around the February 14th is going to kind of be when everything's kind of starting to overlap. There are parades on the weekends, all leading up to actual Mardi Gras Day. And then the weekend before Tuesday the 25th is going to be the big one. They have parades starting from Wednesday the week before all the way up until Mardi Gras Day. So that the weekends are real big for all day parades. They'll usually have 2 or 3 daytime parades, 1 or 2 nighttime parades that weekend, and the Monday before Mardi Gras, it's just going to be parades all day, every day. So there's lots of places you can catch them. You can catch them uptown. They have some in the nearby area of Metairie that you could get a cab or an Uber to if you wanted a little bit tamer experience. But
will you say that one more time? What is the town that if somebody maybe wants a more child-friendly experience?
Metairie. Metairie. But I feel like the uptown parades, especially the daytime parades, people would maybe discount as thinking they wouldn't be family friendly, but they really are. It's going to be tons of families out there, and it's one of those traditions. You did it as a kid, and then your parents bring you to, you bring your kids when you have them to the parade. So our kids have been going, my oldest has been going literally since he was an infant. Like, he was in a carrier, the very first parade he went to. So the uptown parades during the day, big family friendly experience. One of the things people may not be prepared for, because people may say, oh, well, we have parades where we're from. It's a little bit more intense. I'm not going to lie. But people will build seats for their kids and mount them on top of ladders. So sometimes when you go out there, you'll see just these rows of ladders with the seats on top so that the kids can get all the throws. And people get very creative with them, but it might be a little bit jarring. So you do kind of have to go a little bit early to find you a spot and all that. But the people are really friendly. You can make friends easily. We always do every time we go. You start talking to the people around you, especially when you're there all day. The one thing I guess it would be especially important to remember with maybe younger kids is bathrooms will be scarce. A lot of the businesses and stuff that are along parade routes will put up like restroom closed signs, or they'll have them locked because they don't want people just coming in and out of there all day. So there are porta potties. I know that's not ideal for some people, but just to be aware, if you're planning to be out there all day, they actually have a phrase. I don't know if I should even say it, but there ain't no place to pee on Mardi Gras Day. That's a thing. So it's just the truth. And sometimes with little kids, you just have to be ready for that with like antibacterial wipes and stuff like that if you have to resort to that. So just to keep in mind, because with little kids, it can be tough.
The whole parade and Mardi Gras concept is something to, I guess, to keep in mind as well for people looking for a hotel, because availability will be trickier. Maybe that's why Disney's doing the 7-night cruises departing like next year, at least on Friday. I wonder if it has to do with trying to make it easier for people to find hotel availability.
It could be. I don't know how much trouble it would be. It probably would affect the availability some in the weekends leading up to Mardi Gras, but definitely that weekend right before is going to be very busy when it comes to hotels. It's probably going to be hard to find rooms. So that's definitely something you want to plan out in advance if you're going to be there around Mardi Gras time.
So lots of parades through the city. Anything else associated with Mardi Gras or any other tips that you can give families that are going to be in New Orleans during that time period? MardiGrasNewOrleans.com
has like the full parade schedules already. They already have all of it up. So you can see like which ones you may overlap with, and it'll show you the parade routes. So you can see like where you should go to view the parade. You can end up with tons of stuff. So if you are like ready to get on the ship, you may just want to be a little bit more selective with and let your kids know like, hey, we can't keep all this stuff, because they will catch tons of beads, tons of stuffed animals, trinkets, toys, all kinds of stuff. So our kids come home loaded down. So that just might be something to keep in mind if you have younger kids that might be upset about that sort of thing, like leaving those things behind. You may just want to let them know to go for the experience and not necessarily for all the stuff, because you can get a lot of stuff.
I didn't realize they threw out that much stuff. I knew about the beads,
but it is tons. It is stuffed animals. My daughter last year at a Mardi Gras parade, there was a float that was stopped in front of us, and a man that was on the top of the float had a humongous bear, like probably a 4-foot tall teddy bear. And he was just talking to her, and he was like, hey, do you want me to throw something for you? And she said, I want that bear. And he said, okay. And we came home with a 4-foot teddy bear.
Holy cow.
It took up the entire back of the car. It was kind of obnoxious. But they come home with tons of stuff. Clackers, hats, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, they throw lots. Wow. If you come, now they don't have any sailings leaving out of there, I don't think this year, but if you come around St. Patrick's Day.
They sure do next year.
Do they? Okay. They have a St. Patrick's Day parade where they actually throw food. So you can catch cabbage, onions, potatoes.
That's random.
Fruit. I mean, it's crazy. So we come home with a food bag and a trinkets bag. Yeah. So it's New Orleans is its
got
own.
Our vegetables for the week.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's something uniquely New Orleans, I think. I don't know many places you could go where you'd be catching all that kind of stuff in the parade.
I love this because I'm learning so much. I did not know.
Most people don't, but it is so fun. And my kids will just like eat all day because they throw snacks, they throw fruit, they throw all kinds of stuff. And so they will just, snack cakes, and they'll just eat all of it as they're catching it. So.
Well, we've been to the parade now. We've got our beads. We've got our stuffed animal, our 4-foot one. We're bringing it back. And let's talk about some different things that families can do. Is there a Mardi Gras museum by any chance?
There is a place called, it's Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World, and you can take a tour there. I'm not 100% sure. It might be a little bit more limited when it's actually Mardi Gras time, but that's where they build all the floats. They are very well known in this area for building those parade floats with different themes, and you can take a tour of that area to see where they build all of that.
But it'd be kind of cool to see those floats and stuff. Well, besides the Museum for Mardi Gras there, what are some of the things that you would recommend for families to do, Christy?
One of the big ones probably that some people will even already know about would be the Audubon Institute. So they have an aquarium, a zoo, and an insectarium. And all of them are absolutely beautiful, really great for kids. The zoo just opened a new African lion exhibit that they just built this whole huge area. The elephants just got a new area, new enclosure, and they have white Bengal tigers, all kinds of gorgeous animals in really nice setups. It's not like, I call it like not the sad zoo. The zoo that we have here, I call the sad zoo because it's just animals behind gates. But they all have like really beautiful areas with trees and waterfalls and stuff like that.
Where is that located?
So the zoo is closer to City Park, but you can get there by taking
City Park is
streetcar.
To what?
Let me see. I know you can take the streetcar.
Okay.
You can take the streetcar between the zoo and the aquarium, and you can get like a combo ticket to both. You can get a combo ticket for all three.
So I feel like it's a little bit of ways.
It is,
but
it is. It's not going to be in the city, but you if you are close by a streetcar stop, you can easily get to the zoo. It has its own
how fun
stop.
would it be to take a streetcar?
The streetcar, I think, is worth taking just to take it. I mean, even if you are not particularly going anywhere and you just want to ride it around, that I feel like is an experience in itself.
So it's like west of the city, or at least City Park is, because I've been City Park it since it's near City Park.
Close by City Park. Sorry.
City Park is huge, by the way.
Yes, it is. So you can buy a ticket that is actually good. When I was looking at it, the combo tickets are good for 30 days from first use. So even if you have like one visit to the aquarium, one visit to the zoo, one visit to the insectarium, if you are like bookending your cruise with stays, like a 1 or 2 night stay, you could do one at the beginning and one at the end, or however. You don't have to do it all in one day because it is a lot. It's a big zoo. It's a big aquarium. So it's a lot of ground to cover.
Over by the City Park, because now that's my place I know, there is also a New Orleans art museum. So somebody could go to that as well.
Yes, there's the art museum there. And then they also just recently opened a brand new children's museum location in City Park also that has indoor and outdoor activities. And I haven't been to the new one, but I mean, just based off of what the old one was like, the old one was really incredible for a children's museum. So I feel like if they, put all this money into building this new location, I'm sure it's incredible. So I feel like that would be fun for young to maybe elementary school age kids. Like my son is 9 and he still had a great time there. There's lots of New Orleans history. There is science. There's art. There's all kinds of stuff that they can do at the Children's Museum. So it's a really fun one. I've been to a few, and that one's definitely the best.
We talked about the zoo. We talked about the insectarium and the aquarium and whatnot. Anything else for families? You talked about the steam, as we were discussing before we started recording, you talked about the steamboat. What's up with that?
So the Steamboat Natchez, and it's actually steamboatnatchez.com is their website, and they offer, you can buy just a ticket to ride on the steamboat and just kind of just take a ride around. But they also offer, like, they have a Sunday jazz cruise with brunch where they have live music. They have dinner jazz cruises, and just lots of different options. And sometimes it looks like they do special events. I was trying to see if they had anything that would overlap, specifically, but I didn't see anything with those dates. But they do stuff like for Mother's Day. They have a family day. They have like group cruises you can do. You can, book a private one. So it offers a lot of different, it's one of those, like, it looks kind of like the ones that are in like Disneyland in, like the New Orleans Square-ish kind of area and Frontierland. And it's one of those just like iconic steamboat with the big red paddle, on the back. And it goes past some really, gorgeous scenery in the city too. Like it goes past the cathedral and stuff like that. So it's just a fun either trip to take, or you can do a meal and have live music. And I think any way you do it is probably going to be really fun.
And that's kind of a good point. If you haven't really looked at New Orleans, and I never really kind of paid attention, I always thought New Orleans was more down towards the water, but it's really the river that flows by New Orleans. So it's really kind of a river city. And you flow down that river out to the Gulf, which I think that would be amazing to be on the Wonder as you head out that way. Besides that, then, Kristy, anything else that you would recommend for families before maybe we talk about some stuff for just couples?
I think those would probably be the best things, just for families. I think the other stuff that I have would be good for older kids and or adults. Okay. So I think that would be it for kids.
I was kind of playing around too as you guys are talking, and I found there's a New Orleans pass. A lot of cities have city passes. You'd have to do the math on this to see if it works or not for you, but they offer 1, 2, 3 days discounts. So you buy into the pass, and then it offers you discounts at some of the different museums. So that might be another thing that you might look at if you're going to be there for a couple of days. Well, let's turn to things that maybe couples or adults or older children or older kids would be more interested in.
Yeah, so I found there is a website. It's just called experienceneworleans.com, and you can book a lot of different tours there. So they have horse and carriage rides, ghost and cemetery tours. One of my favorite things to do is plantation tours, but that may be something you would have to maybe plan a little bit of extra time to do because some of those are a little bit further out and would require some transportation. But you can book different like walking tours, carriage tours, stuff like that throughout the city. So I think those would kind of be fun almost for anybody, but I think they would be especially nice maybe for adults or families with older kids who would maybe like those kind of ghost tours and stuff like that.
Right up my alley.
I was just going to ask you, Christy, carriage tour or ghost tour? Which one are you going on?
Definitely going to pass up the ghost tour. No, I want nothing to do with anything to do with cemeteries.
The cemeteries are really cool if you go visit them during the day. They are really unique, and it's something New Orleans is kind of known for because everything is above ground. Even if you just drive by it, it's not something you need to kind of go walk around, but it is cool just to see because I don't think most people are used to seeing something like that.
Well, I'm kind of a big World War II history buff. We lived in England when I was a kid, and I've kind of studied it all my life, I guess. And I know that they have a big National World War II museum there. Have you been to it? Yeah,
I have not, and I always am trying to find a way to get there, but I have not been there, and I have heard nothing but great things about the people that have gone. My son was supposed to have a Cub Scout event there, and I had told my husband that he was on scout duty for everything. But when I heard that they were doing something at the museum, I wanted to go, and then it fell through. So I have not been, but I've heard it is really incredible.
Well, it started off, and I'm going to geek out here for just a little bit, but the boats that they used on D-Day were built down in New Orleans, and it was originally the museum was originally focused along, and I'm totally drawing a blank on the name of the boats and the boat company, but Stephen Ambrose, who was a big World War II and just kind of a history writer and famous historian, he passed away a couple years ago, but he got involved with it, and then it became, instead of just focusing on just those boats, it also started to focus on just World War II in general. So I've heard it's just a great museum. I'd love to come down there and see it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things, so I really would like to go, but it's not something we've made it to yet.
Okay, well, we talked about that. We talked about possibly some haunted tours and whatnot. How about music? If a couple is going out, they're having some food, where would you, any ideas as to, you don't have to give us specific places, but where would people go look for music? Is that going to be downtown too?
I think it's probably pretty easy to find, honestly. The House of Blues always has performers going on, and sometimes it's big name acts and sometimes it's not. So, I feel like you could probably always catch something there. And they have a lot of different venues that can accommodate stuff like that. There's theaters all over the place for live music or shows or anything like that. So, I feel like it would be pretty easy to find, even if you maybe don't know what you're looking for. I feel like it would be something easy to look up, on the dates that you plan on being there. And it might just be like a little jazz band or something, but music is just everywhere in New Orleans. It's really kind of hard to get away from, honestly. So I think you could probably find that pretty easily.
A lot of the hotel lobbies, because when we were going for that wedding that I went to, a lot of the hotel lobbies have music acts in the evenings. And so most people would probably be able to find something even where they're staying.
Definitely. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of just everywhere. So, you can just be walking around and hear a band playing somewhere and just kind of wander into a bar or, wherever. There's always live music going on, especially if you're walking around the French Quarter at night and stuff. There's going to be music coming from everywhere. So,
and sometimes those are the best. Sometimes those are the best finds when you're just kind of wandering around and you pop into a place and find a band that you weren't expecting. So I'm just thinking of like Tiana's place and all the music that they got going on down there on the Wonder. And I love New Orleans jazz, so that would actually add a lot to the evening as well for somebody that might be out there. Yeah. So Christy P, what have we missed? What have we talked about yet that we should talk about?
I think we kind of talked about it. There's the French Quarter in general, which is where there's going to be a lot of the bars.
Daiquiris are really popular down here too. There's daiquiri shops all over the place. So yeah, lots of food, lots of drinking, if that's your thing, lots of shopping. There's lots of little boutiques. There's the French Market, has lots of handmade items. So some of it is kind of that cheesy souvenir stuff, but when you really look around, you can find some really nice, handmade jewelry, stuff like that would be a little bit more local. And then in the Riverwalk, which is right next to the aquarium, it's a small little mall that you can walk around, and some of it is just like retail shops that you would see anywhere else, but they do have a few little places where you can get like New Orleans cookbooks and seasonings and spices and local items that you could get to bring home with you.
Before we kind of finish up, shopping wise, is there something, I'm kind of thinking of like Seattle's kind of iconic for fish, and there was a market up there where they have this really good tea that a lot of people buy. Is there anything out of New Orleans that a lot of people bring home or something that you'd recommend?
People that drink coffee really like the chicory coffee. So I know that's a popular thing to buy, and you can bring home beignet mix if you want to try your hand at making those at home once you get addicted at Café du Monde, like the rest of us do. But I find here we have just like mixed seasonings that I don't know that you would buy other places. And I guess I don't really know what other people season their food with. I mean, we have like Tony Chachere's and Slap Ya Mama, and I don't know if you can get that just anywhere else in the United States. So, it's kind of a weird experience when you've only ever lived in this one area. Like for the longest time, I didn't know that people actually bought cups and glasses to stock their house with, because we just use Mardi Gras cups. So, I mean, being from New Orleans is a very unique experience. I did not buy a set of glasses until I went to college and I needed something to drink out of. And I was like, what do people do? Oh, they buy them at the store, but we just use Mardi Gras cups growing up. So, it's a very unique way to grow up. That's for sure.
Well, and I think you made a good point there with the spices, because a lot of places in the country, they really don't add a lot to it. So, that's
right.
Yeah. That in my mind, I think about like jambalaya and some of the stuff like that are just amazing.
We keep it stocked in our pantry, and we use it on hamburgers. We use it on pasta. We use it on chicken. We use it on almost anything that you could add a little bit of, instead of, adding like salt and pepper, we just put some Tony's on it, and it's delicious. So that would be a good little thing to bring home. Tabasco, I think, is probably more widely distributed, but that is another thing that is local. Actually, where I live now is the home of the plant where they make the Tabasco sauce. So that would be something to pick up and bring home.
Well, Kristy, thanks so much for all of your input here. As we kind of finish up, any other tips or advice that you can think of that we haven't covered? Family stuff, food, lodging, anything that we haven't talked about yet tonight?
I don't think anything specific. I think just go in with an open mind and don't think that it is just a party town. It can be really fun for families. It can be really fun for adults. It is a beautiful city. It is full of culture, full of fun and exciting things to do and experience. So hopefully people will really enjoy it, and it'll be a place they continue to go out of, because I'm hoping we can maybe book one of those sailings one day. So I hope that they keep it as one of their ports.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, as a traveler, the more different places that Disney can continue to explore and look forward to grow out of it. And in a city like New Orleans, where there's just so much to do either before or after the cruise, that's just, in my mind, I hope it's just going to be a win-win for them. So
yeah, I think it'll be more than people expect. People that had never maybe planned on going to New Orleans, I think it's going to be really amazing for them to just kind of, to dig in and experience everything.
And Kristy P., any other questions before we get out of here?
I don't have any other questions, but I did want to just point out that I had indicated that I think I thought I ate at the Hyatt or the Hilton when I was there for my one-day trip for a wedding. And I actually ate at, it's called like Sugar or something, in the Hyatt. So it's French Quarter Hyatt, and they had so many amazing gluten-free options that I think I ordered like 2 breakfasts for myself. And then I took half of it and put it in the fridge and ate it on the way home the next day at the airport. But they had like gluten-free pancakes. And so for our gluten-free listeners, those things are really important because we don't always get those. So I might just stay at the Hyatt the next time because they had such good options.
And I think I'm going to have to try that chicory coffee, being a big coffee drinker. That sounds pretty amazing too. So,
yeah.
Well, what's next for you, Kristy? It sounds like you guys are going to be bailing during Mardi Gras this year, heading down to Walt Disney World. What's in the plans for you and your family?
Yeah, we will be in Disney World for the week. We haven't been in a few years, so I'm really excited to get back to the parks. But we had booked a placeholder on our last cruise, so we are all scheduled for January of next year out of Port Canaveral again. So we're really excited. We're ready for another cruise.
And which one are you doing?
We're doing the same itinerary. It just happened to work out really well with our schedule and the kids' schedule. So it's going to be another Western Caribbean on the Fantasy.
Well, that's perfect, because once the Wish comes down there and they move the Fantasy over to the West Coast, you're not going to be able to... I love getting your reaction every time, Kristy.
So we should enjoy it.
It's such a hurry for time until you can talk about history or moving a ship to the West Coast.
Well, Kristy, thank you so much for tonight. It's been just a fun time talking to you and getting to hear all about a city that we can tell that you just have a lot of love for. And I hope
absolutely.
I hope everybody that's headed out on the Wonder here in the next couple weeks or so just has a wonderful time in New Orleans and has a wonderful sailing on the Wonder as well.
Yep, I hope everyone has a great time.
All right, well, all the best. And when you get back from your cruise on the Fantasy, we'd love to have you come back, if not sooner, and we'll talk some more Disney Cruise Line.
All right, sounds great.
Thanks, Kristy.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Kristy for coming on and sharing her knowledge and experience of spending time in the beautiful city of New Orleans. And I wish all of you, we are just 2 weeks away from that first sailing, February 7th, 2020. And I want to wish all of you who may be sailing on that one or future ones out of New Orleans just the best as you get down to that just beautiful city by the Mississippi River. If you would like to come on a future show with us and share your experiences with Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and Run Disney, we've got some shows every now and then about Run Disney as well. We would love to have you. You can reach out to me, Steve, at DCLpodcast.com, and we'll find some time to get you on and share your experiences with our listeners as well. Well, between now and our next show, if you are heading out on your next vacation, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.